a famine in the land, and the blessing renewed. We're in chapter 26 now of Genesis. And there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Esau went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And Yahweh appeared unto him and said, go not down unto Egypt. Don't do like your daddy did. No, don't go down into Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. Interesting enough, notice the Most High is saying the oath which I swear. One of the things that the Most High told Abraham, he said, because I can swear by no greater, I'm going to swear by myself. That in blessing, I'm going to bless you. And in multiplying, I will multiply you. So in other words, if the Most High did not fulfill on his promise, because he swore by himself, he would literally have to cease to exist. That's how strong the bond of his promise was to Abraham. And so he's renewing that promise to Isaac now. He said, man, I'm blessing you. The blessing of Abraham is on you, and I'm going to sustain you. And we're going to see how powerful this blessing is as we proceed on with these verses here. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Now, notice I got that underlined. In thy seed, singular, not plural. In thy seed shall all nations of the earth be blessed. That is pointing towards Yahshua HaMashiach. He is the promised seed, right? We certainly see that Abraham was a father of many nations, and he had a multitude of children like the stars of the sky. But the seed that he's talking about is the same seed he's talking about in Genesis 3:15. The seed of the woman shall bruise the serpent's head, and the serpent's head is going to bruise that seed's heel. And that came through Yahshua, right? That came through Yahshua. So again, as we read the scriptures, we got to, discern exactly what's being said, who's being spoken of, so we can recognize what the Most High is saying. And so right here, that seed, in thy seed, in Yahshua, shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws, my Torah, he kept it all, right? And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. He did not leave. He was obedient and he remained there. And let's watch and just watch how this unfolds, how blessed this single man is. This man with one wife, right, and two twin sons. Let's see what's going to be happening here with him. And the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said, she is my sister. For he feared to say, and this sounds familiar, doesn't it? Same thing as daddy did, right? Because they had a practice back then that if people were traveling among certain nations, if they saw an attractive woman, they would kill the husband for the wife. So there's a reason why these men were lying, okay? And they weren't technically, they were not lying because they were related. They were, sometimes they were born of the same father, but not of the same mother. And the Most High was allowing for them to marry at that time, because they were still repopulating the earth. Eventually, once he gave the commandments to Moses, and by the time they got into Leviticus, then they began to set down laws for marriage. And he said, don't lie down with your mother's sister. Don't lie down with your brother's sister, your brother's daughter. He began to, differentiate, make it very clear what was legal and allowed and what was not. But it was not until the Torah was given to Moses. So we're talking about, 400 years, from this time before the Torah was given. So these things were still being allowed. Just go again, verse 7. And the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said, she is my sister, for he feared to say she is my wife. lest he said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out at a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah, his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, behold, of a surety she is your wife. And how sayest thou, she is my sister? You know, he was probably hugging on her, probably was kissing on her, and they saw it. They said, oh no, there's something's up here. You don't do that with your sister. You know, there's something closer here, right? And Isaac said unto him, because I said, lest I die for her, right? So I didn't know what was going to happen. You know, so I had to, say this. I told her to say, you're my sister, right? And Abimelech said, what is this thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lied with your wife, and thou should have brought guiltiness upon us, right? So this man, he had a righteous heart. And so he's recognizing that, this story that was being told, right, placed him in a bad situation, put him in a bad light, because, out of the righteousness of his heart, he could have made a decision to begin to court Rebekah, and it could have led them to the problem. He don't want to be on the wrong side of the Most High, right? And Abimelech charged all his people. Listen to what Abimelech is doing now. He said, he that touched this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. So obviously, he recognized something very special about Isaac, that he's making this decree throughout his whole nation. Don't mess with this man. Don't mess with his wife. The man that does that, you will be put to death. Then Isaac sold in that land. Instead of going to Egypt, he stayed in a place where there was a famine. He sold in the land and received in that same year something that never happens, 100-fold return. If you talk to any farmer, they'll tell you don't get 100-fold return in 1 year, and definitely not in the time of a famine. And Yahweh blessed him. Is that not Yahweh renewing the blessing that he gave to Abraham? He said, I'm gonna show you something very special, son. I know it's rough out here, and I know normally, when it's not going well in Canaan, everybody go to Egypt, which is the greatest nation on the planet right now, because they always seem to have resources. But son, I want to do something different than you. Stay here in the time of famine and watch me work for you. And he gave the man 100-fold. Now, we're somewhat, give me a second here. We're somewhat in a season of famine right now. You got a lot of striking going on. You got a lot of plants closing. You got inflation going through the roof. Sandwiches that you could have got last year for $10 is now $15. It's just ridiculous. When you go shopping, everybody knows the boxes have shrunk and the prices have gone up, right? Gas prices starting to go up, everything. This inflation has been ridiculous. I wish I could, go and look at some of the sizes of the box that we had, even 2 or 3 years ago. And then the quality of the things. I bought a cabinet, a few months ago, and I noticed in one of the reviews, the guy said, I bought one of these cabinets not right before COVID. And the construction of it was a solid weld, and the metal was thick. And I was so impressed with it that I wanted to get another one. And when I got the new one after COVID, this thing was so flimsy. And, instead of it having welds now, they gave us screws. And you put screws in it, and the thing, is so shaky that if you don't nail it up to the wall, or if you don't somehow secure it to the wall, it will not stand. So, it's amazing. I mean, just in a couple of years, the quality of the workmanship in this one item. And so this was a major, I think it was a Husky, which is a name brand piece of equipment. And he said, man, it is not the same as it was just 2 years ago. And so this is the time we're living in. We're living in a time of famine. So it's a time now, just like Isaac, we've got to begin to really trust the Most High to bring us through this season. Don't count on the government, right? Don't count on any of these things. It is time to put your trust and your confidence in the Most High. He will sustain you the same way he sustained Isaac.
Don't trust in your jobs.
Right.
You know, I mean, because you just can't. You just gotta know that he's gonna give you favor.
Yeah.
Because you're serving him.
In fact, I just talked to one of my friends. He's been with a company. He's been Joseph to this company, right? And recently, you know, they let him go. He said he could almost see the writings on the wall. And he told him in an exit interview, you guys got to know that my time being here has helped to sustain you guys. It's helped to sustain you in the midst of a lot of different things that's been going on. So your decision today is going to impact your ability to exist going forward. And don't think that banks have not, you know, closed the doors. You know, my wife has had situations where, you know, different companies have come against her, and those companies don't exist anymore. You know, so I know how that works. You know, this one company came against her, and you know, just treated her totally wrong.
Accused me of stealing.
Right, and she said, "Are you kidding me? I am a righteous woman. I would not do that." Right. But you go ahead and make this accusation. We'll see how this thing pans out. And in a very short period of time, I mean, a major company that, you know, if mention the name, you know it was. They don't exist anymore because they're coming against the people of the Most High. Genesis 26:13, and the man waxed great, talking about Isaac now, and went forward and grew until he became what? Very great. Now we're talking about a single man, a single family with a wife and 2 kids. Okay, we're talking about a man with a wife and 2 kids. And the Bible says the man waxed great and went forward and grew until he became very great. For he had possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great store of servants. He had many employees, right? And look at this now. And the Philistines envied him. Now, keep in mind now, the Philistines are a nation. They're not a family. They are a nation. Thousands upon thousands of people make up this, you know, the Philistine group. And you got this one man with 1 wife, 2 kids, and servants and flocks, and the Philistines envied this man. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, look at this now. Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. He didn't say, you know, because if you stick around here, we're afraid that you might become greater than we are. He's already saying you are much mightier than we. Now that's a heck of a testimony for somebody to have about a man who's all he's got is 1 wife and 2 kids, but his possessions are so great that he is challenging a whole nation. Now, why is this important? Because this is the blessing of Abraham. And this blessing is supposed to cause the people of the Most High to stand out from all other people groups. And that's what it was doing for our fathers. For Abraham, it did it. For Isaac, we see it's doing it. And here's why this is so important. Deuteronomy 28 talks about the curses that will come on the children of Israel for not obeying him. Now, everybody know Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. You know, I'll be blessed coming in, I'll be blessed going out, I'll be the head, not the tail, I'll be above and not beneath, I'll be a lender, not a borrower, all that, right? Right? You know, people, you know, they go to sleep, you know, reciting that. But it's 15 through 68 that they pay no attention to. But because of our ancestors not staying on the same path that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did, it eventually led our descendants into a bad way and ultimately into slavery. The blessing was taken from us. But when you get to Deuteronomy 30, and I'm going to give you a glimpse of this because we're going to go into a deep dive when we get into the book of Deuteronomy. But when you get into the book of Deuteronomy chapter 30, it says, when all these blessings and cursings have come upon you, all the prophecies that I've said about you, and once you fall into the cursing and you have been scattered, to the four corners of the earth, and you come back to yourself and recognize the error of your ways, and you return to me and to my Torah, then I'm going to bless you and cause you to be greater than the fathers. Who are the fathers? Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Joseph, David, Solomon. How many hear what I'm saying? They are the foundations of our faith. They are the foundations of our race. And so we can look back on them and recognize that if we can get this thing right, and we can return to the Most High the way he wants us to, he said, I'm going to cause you to be greater than the fathers. That's what we have to look forward to. So I'm taking a deep dive and looking at the fathers today, the life of Abraham, the life of Isaac, and eventually we're going to be talking about the life of Jacob, right? And so this man Abimelech is saying that Isaac, this one man is greater than all of the Philistines combined. How many hear what I'm saying? He said, go away from us, because you're too great, man. You're mightier than we are. And Yahweh appeared unto him the same night and said, I am the Elohim of Abraham, thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee and will bless thee and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake, because Abraham was his friend. The Most High wouldn't even make a move in this area without talking to Abraham. And so that blessing that was on Abraham is now landing on his son Isaac, okay? And he built there an altar and called upon the name of Yahweh. So this is what righteous people do. They don't look to lean on the flesh, on the arm of flesh. They lean on the Most High. And so Isaac, he's built the altar and said, I'm going to honor the Most High. He's got my back. He had my father's back. My father told me all the stories. I was with him when we went up to Golgotha's hill. I was fully prepared because I had the same faith that my father had. If my father trusted in the Most High, I'm going to trust in him. He said, in Isaac, the seed's going to be. So if he's going to cause me to be sacrificed on this mountain, so be it. Because me and my father, we have one thing in common. We trust the Most High. If he's going to take my life, then he's going to give it back to me because I don't have any kids yet. And so Isaac had the same faith. And so what is he doing? In the midst of tribulation, in the midst of persecution, he's calling on the name of Yahweh. What do you do in your difficult times? Right? What do you do when things get difficult? When economy get difficult? When you get persecuted, what do you do? Do you go get your gun? Do you go get your partners? You want to go try to fight? Or do you trust in the Most High and abide in his shalom, in his peace? Let's see what Isaac does. And he pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged a well. Look at this now. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzath, one of his friends, and Pichol, the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said unto them, why you come to me, seeing you hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, look at this now. We saw certainly that Yahweh was with you. And we said, let there be now an oath between us and you, even betwixt us and you, and let us make a covenant with you. So they thought about it. They said, this man is so blessed, we need to push him away from us. And then they thought about it again. They said, wait a minute. If the blessing's on this man, why are we pushing him away? We probably need to get close to this man, right? So they had second thoughts, and they said, let's go back here and smooth this thing over. This is not wise what we have done. Okay, that thou wilt do us no hurt. This is the covenant they want. That you will do us no hurt. You man, your wife, your two kids. We don't want you to do any hurt to this great nation, the Philistines, that's been around for 100 years, right? We don't want you to do us any hurt, as we have not touched you, and as we have done you nothing, right, but good, and have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now the blessed of Yahweh. This is what Abimelech has to say about Isaac. It's a good testimony,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a great testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good that he recognized that I wasn't being too smart, not being in the covenant and fellowship with this man, right? And so what does Isaac do? Did he say, get away from me? I'm not making any covenant with you? No, and what I didn't go into for the time, for sake of time, is that his servants kept taking over Isaac's wells. Isaac would dig a well, because keep in mind now, it's a famine in the land. Mm-hmm. So in a time of famine, water is scarce. So the Philistines were digging wells and coming up dry. Mm-hmm. Every time Isaac would put his shovel in the ground, water was coming up. And so as soon as water would come up, then the Philistines would go and claim his well. And so he'd dig another well, and water would come up, and they'd come and claim that one. And I think it happened 3 or 4 times. And eventually, he got to a place, and he made a well, and he honored the Most High. But then the Philistines recognized that where we can't get water, this man is getting water every time he strikes the ground. It's obviously a blessing on this man that we are not experiencing. And so they made a decision to come to Isaac, even though he's talking about we did you no hurt, but in reality, y'all did, right? Y'all did. Y'all kept taking over my wells. And, me being a man of peace, I chose not to do anything. So now Isaac, his faith is being tested, and his love walk is being tested, mm-hmm. right? Because in spite of all the things that these people have done unto him, taking over his wells, he didn't try to fight. He said, well, I'm gonna go, he kind of did the same thing that Abraham did with Lot. They were fighting over the land, and Abraham said, hey man, let there be peace between us. If you choose to go to the right, I'll go to the left. You choose to go to the left, I'll go to the right. Whatever you choose, I'll take the latter. I know I'm the senior citizen here, right? You the younger, but I'm gonna give way to peace, right? I'm choosing peace right now. And so Isaac knew the story. He's walking in the same peace that his father walked in. He done made a feast for these men. They're eating and drinking his food, right? Because he's choosing to walk in shalom, the peace of the Most High. And they rose up betimes in the morning, and they made a swear. They made a pact to one another, right? And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in what? Peace. Right? He's a peacemaker, right? He made peace. And look what happens now immediately after he makes peace. And it came to pass the same day. Can you say the same day?
The same day.
The same day that Isaac's servants came and told him concerning the well which they had digged. And they said unto him, what? We have found water. We have found water, right? Because he was being a peacemaker and showing himself, to be a truster of the Most High, the Most High saying, I got your back, Isaac. I know they've taken your wells time and time again, but I've got your back. Did you have something?
Lesson learned. If we look at this, a lot of times, even me myself, I have to say, I want to deal with things in the heat of the passion or the anger or the situation where we're being attacked or somebody's coming against us or circumstances, we get into a thing where we want to take it over and fight for our rights and fight for our battles and things of that nature. But this is just showing us we have to, the greater one that's in us, we have to let him move on our behalf.
Absolutely.
And fight for us because he can do it.
He can do it
like nobody else
Absolutely.
can. And in the end, 2 things happen. We come out blessed and he come out glorified.
Exactly. Because of our trust walk. See, it takes trust, it takes faith, it takes a confident walk to allow yourself to be taken advantage of, and you still gonna trust the Most High. And when everything was said and done, the people that came against him had to come and honor him, right? And so I guarantee you, these people are walking away from this saying, you know what, that dude is something else, man.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of times we hear these stories and people like, oh, those old Bible stories, they're not happening now. I seen it when that guy tried to, the crook, as we titled him, tried to steal from us and thought he was gonna get over.
Right.
And just knew he had it. But when it was all said and done, we had house, car, and money.
Right.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Had it all.
I forgot about that story.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but you and I was ready to fight. You sitting up there calm as all could be and collected, and this dude coming our house acting like he tripping. Right. I went and got my skillet from under the sink because I didn't have a gun. I went and got my skillet, and I was like, let him act like he wanted to use his black belt in karate. I will karate this frying pan upside his head. But you were so cool.
Because I had trust.
And just trusted the Most High, and like I said, by the time it was all said and done, we had everything.
Absolutely. For those that don't know, it was the first house we ever bought. We were in a situation where we were renting, and we got into this house really by a miracle. And my wife was responsible for the miracle of us getting into this house that we were renting. It was very accommodating. Only problem was that the owner would not sign a lease with us. And so every time we got a statement for rent, every month he would go up $10, $15, $20, $25. He just kept going up on the rent. And I said, man, let's sign a lease for a year so we know a fixed number. He said, no, I don't want to sign a lease. I said, you know what, if he's going to keep doing this, I'd rather get something I can control. And so I went into prayer about buying a house. And soon as I got to work, and I was in the fire department at the time, I got to work. And a man said, hey, man, I got a house to sell. Are you interested? I said, am I interested? Absolutely. I've been praying. And so we get to this house. It's a fixer-upper, but, I was Ron Hoover's son.
Right.
So I had no problem with having a fixer-upper, right? And so it had it was a double lot, a nice ranch home, perfect starter home for my wife and I. And so we entered into an agreement, and the man said, okay, and this is the first house, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, I never purchased a house before. He said, okay, listen, I'm looking at this Continental, and if you can just go ahead and finance the Continental for me, then I will sign over the title to the property for you. And so he had a land contract, and so I went ahead and got the financing for, I think, $16,000 for the car. He signed over the property to me. And then, my wife was pregnant at the time. I think she was about 8 months pregnant at the time we moved in. And so we still got boxes in the crib and unpacked, right? He just knock on the door. And so I opened the door, and this man standing at the door. And he said, I heard somebody else moved into the house. I just want to let you know that, I own the property.
Back it up. You weren't even at home.
I wasn't there first.
I was there with the kids. And he knocked on the door when we came home. I told you, this guy said he owned this house.
Right.
And he came back.
And that's when I talked to him.
When you talked to him.
No, I didn't know he had been there first time. So he come to me, he said, yeah, I was gonna let you know, I own the property, and the guy that you're buying this from has not made a payment since he signed the land contract with me 4 months ago. Now we back in the early 80s. So the payment was $200 a month. So the crook came to me and said, yeah, I know I'm behind, man. If you could give me $800, I can get the thing cut off, and then we won't have to worry about it no more. And I said, dude, I'm not comfortable with that. I said, listen, I need you to give me a cash price for this house. I want to cash out, And so I think it was like $11,200. What he said, you give me $11,200, and you can get the crib. And so I raised the money, had a certified check. I'm on my way to close with this crook, and my heart was jumping out of my chest like I am getting ready to drive a car off a cliff. I knew on my way to this meeting that it was not for me to give him this check. So I said, okay, I got to find a way to get out of this deal because I've already set the appointment to close with him. So I go to his house, and it's two lots that we were supposed to be purchasing. Still remember the lot number, lot 73 and lot 74. And so I get there, and I'm looking at the deed, and I said, okay, so this is for lot 73 in the house. Where is the paperwork for the lot 74? And this is what he said. Once you gave me the money, I was going to go downtown and complete the purchase for the other lot. I said, man, that is no business at all. I said, once you get your stuff together, then you give me a call. So I left there and I got home. I said, okay, Most High, what am I supposed to do here? He said, you need to get an attorney today. Now it's like 4 o'clock. And so I go into the yellow pages. We didn't have Google back then.
No.
Yeah, we had the yellow pages, and the yellow pages were inches thick, right?
Especially for attorneys.
Attorneys, you turn an A attorney, and it's just page after page after page after page of attorneys. So I'm flipping through, trying to find out which attorney. I'm trying to be led. I'm trying to be led, and I get to this one page, and he said, "That is the one. Call him. He will see you today." Just gave me that impression in my spirit, right? So I called him. I said, listen, I got a land purchase matter that I need to talk to an attorney about. Do you have any time available today? He said, if you can get here in 15 minutes, I can see you. And he was right downtown. I was there in 10 minutes. And so I went in there to see him. And this is what I said. I said, listen, I'm buying a property at 408 Harvey, and I need an attorney. He said, stop right there. He said, I cannot represent you because the guy that you're buying that property from, I represent his wife. He is going through a divorce. His wife has already filed a claim of interest against that property. And so I don't care how much, this is what he said now, if you gave that man $1 million, that property would not be free and clear because the wife has an interest in the property because she's married to that man. So that's why the Most High was telling me, don't give him the money. But here's a kicker. He was the only attorney on the planet that could tell me that information. This young 20-something-year-old, never bought a house before. The Most High led me to the very attorney that can give me the critical and vital information I needed to not make a mistake in this purchase. And so he said, I can recommend to you another attorney. I said, give me the attorney's name. I called the attorney, made an appointment, and he said, okay, give me the details. And I said, listen, there's a person who owns the property. There's another person who is buying a property on land contract. I'm buying from the second person. There's a third person, the wife, who's filed a claim of interest against the property. And then there's me. And so the attorney said, walk away. I said, I'm not walking away because I know that this is my property. The attorney said, walk away. He said, I've been in this business for a long time. I have never seen a person close a deal with that many different people involved. I said, you can really see a miracle. And so he said, okay, this is what you got to do then. If you're going to make it happen, this is what you need. You have to find out what the wife wants. You got to find out what the original owner needs. And then you still got to satisfy the person you're buying it from. I said, okay, let me go to work. So I went back to the other attorney and I asked him, so what does your client want? What does the wife want? And he said, she'd be satisfied with $1,500. I said, I can do that. And so I went to Mr. Whiters, the person that owned the property. I said, the balance on the land contract is how much? He said, it's $7,500. So now that's $7,500 plus 15, that's $9,000, right? And so the original purchase price was $11,200. So that's only leaving $2,200 in the deal. So I said, nah, I gotta satisfy this crook. And so I looked at the deed, and remember how we originally bought this thing. I purchased a car from him, for him, and he wrote on the deed that I gave him cash of $16,000. Now, in the meantime, when we agreed to the sell, cash sell, he had given me the keys and the car back. So now I'm driving the Lincoln Continental, and I'm living in the house, and I've got the title deed that says I gave him cash for the property. It's already, he signed off on it, and everything was already done. So I showed it to my attorney, and the attorney said, you know what? He's already signed off on his interest. So technically, you don't have to do anything for him.
Nothing.
And so out of that check for $11,200, I gave it to my attorney so he can make the disbursement. And the crook still had to sign off on the final paperwork. So he got his attorney. The crook's attorney was there at the closing, handling the closing. So the crook said, okay, so Mr. Whiter is going to be getting a disbursement of the $7,500. The wife is going to be getting the $1,500. All right, and let's see now. We did a title search, and there's $2,000 in back taxes. So we're gonna take care of these back taxes as well. And that leaves out of all of this $200. Man, that's just enough for my fee. And the crook is in the background. I never seen a dark person, dark he was, turn red. But this brother was mad, and his attorney insisted that he sign off on the documents. He didn't get a penny.
Not a dime.
He didn't get 1 red cent. We got the property free and clear. My attorney was always, he said, I still to this date don't believe that you guys were able to close that property. But the Most High, when he is on your side, he has got your back. In fact, the scripture say, if Elohim be for you, he is more than the whole world against you. And so that's why when the attorney was trying to tell me walk away, I said, no, I already know. The Most High already said, son, this is your property. So since he already told me that, I don't care how difficult the situation is, he will make it happen. How many hear what I'm saying?